Africa is blessed with fertile land. Why are we still importing food? By Afri Facts. They call Africa the breadbasket of the world. Yet every year, millions of tons of rice, wheat, and maize cross the oceans into our ports. Why? Why does the richest soil on earth feed foreign bank accounts before it feeds our children? Today, we dig deep into a paradox that touches every African plate and pocket. Part 1. The land that could feed the world. Imagine standing on the banks of the River Nile, where ancient Egyptians turned desert into lush fields. Or walking through Nigeria's Middle Belt, where the soil is so rich farmers call it black gold. Or look at Ethiopia's highlands, the Rift Valley, Ghana's cocoa fields, Kenya's green tea hills, the endless maize plains of Zambia, and rice valleys of Mali. Africa has over 200 million hectares of arable land, about 60% of the world's uncultivated fertile land. Our land isn't just good, it's exceptional. Yet the continent spends over $40 billion every year importing food. How did we get here? To understand, we must revisit colonial times. Back then, foreign powers redrew Africa's agriculture to serve their tables, not ours. They planted cash crops, cocoa, coffee, cotton, tea. Not for local consumption, but for export to Europe. Villages that once grew millet, sorghum, yams, and beans were forced to switch to monoculture. A system built to feed industries thousands of kilometers away, and it worked. For them. By independence, Africa was left with limited food self-sufficiency, weak value chains, a mindset that export crops matter more than feeding ourselves. And sadly, even after independence, the structures largely stayed. Part 3. Urban dreams, rural realities. Fast forward to today, Africa's cities are booming. But our rural areas, many remain underdeveloped, with poor roads, no electricity, lack of irrigation, insecure land tenure, aging farmers and little youth interest in agriculture. Imagine being a young farmer who can't get credit, has no storage, and your harvest rots before it gets to the market. You'd leave too. As cities grow, diets change. Urban families now want bread, pasta, fried rice, foods that often require imported wheat and rice. So we import what we don't grow and export what we don't eat. Part 4. The machines and the money. African farms remain among the least mechanized in the world. Many farmers still use hoes and cutlasses, while other regions use tractors, harvesters, drones, and satellite data. Without machinery, productivity is low. Post-harvest losses are huge, sometimes up to 30 to 40%. Banks see farming as risky. They lend little or nothing. And when global food prices go up, so do our import bills, while local farmers can't scale to fill the gap. Meanwhile, local processing industries remain limited. Instead of producing African-made pasta, flour, or cereal from local crops, we import finished products. Part 5. Beyond the farms, policies and priorities. Agriculture isn't just about planting. It's about trade policies, subsidies, research and development, farmer education, storage infrastructure. Some African countries spend less than 5% of national budgets on agriculture, even when over 60% of people depend on it. Without coherent policy, the market stays unstable. Farmers don't know if prices will cover their costs. So many focus on cash crops or simply leave the land. Part 6. But there's hope. African solutions. Across the continent, something is changing. In Nigeria, young agripreneurs use apps to connect farmers to buyers. In Kenya, digital finance lets smallholders lease tractors by the hour. In Ethiopia and Ghana, local rice production is rising. In Rwanda, investment in irrigation and terraces turned barren hills green. Local foods like sorghum, fonio, teff, and millet are making a comeback. They're healthier, drought-resistant, and rooted in African soil. Part 7. Changing the mindset. Perhaps the biggest shift needed isn't just on the farm, but in the mind. We must value local food, local processing, local packaging. Celebrate the African farmer. Teach our youth that agriculture isn't backward. It's big business, science, and power. The bigger picture. When Africa depends on imports, we export jobs, export wealth, import vulnerability. But when we feed ourselves, we create jobs, from farm to fork, strengthen local economies, reduce malnutrition, build resilience against global crises. It's not just food security, it's economic liberation. Closing and call to action. Africa doesn't lack land. We lack systems that turn land into food, and food into wealth for Africans. Imagine a future where Africans eat African rice, bread, and cereals. African farmers export value-added products, not just raw crops. Rural youth see farming as tech-driven, profitable, and dignified. It starts with each of us, supporting local food, demanding policies that invest in agriculture, sharing these stories to spark pride and change. Africa can feed itself and beyond. The question isn't, can we, but when will we decide to? Like, share, and subscribe to Afri Facts. Let's tell Africa's real story together.